Police were called to her home local time last night to mediate a custody dispute. Apparently, Brittany wouldn't turn over the kids at the appropriate time. They actually had to take Brittany Spears out of her house at 11:30 on a stretcher. And in the video, if you watch pretty closely, at one point she's kicking really strongly. It's unclear if they had to restrain her, but there are photos of her in the ambulance where she's grinning in one, and in another she looks.
Mitchell in for Nancy Grace as we cover this latest crisis involving Brittany Spears. A big question remains, is she or isn't she an addict? Let us go to Kevin Dixon, addiction specialist. On Kevin, analyze it, because this is what we know. She went to rehab a year ago, 30 days. Then, based on the evidence, the court finds that there is habitual, frequent, and controlled, continuous use of controlled substances, namely Brittany Spears. Then alcohol and drug tests twice a week. Any of those random tests, and she's never gotten a DUI, and she's got no drug conviction. So what do you make of it as an addiction specialist?
Jane, I believe that she does have an addiction issue. I do believe that she also has a mental health issue. About a dual diagnosis issue. That's the clinical terminology. And these are all red flags, as you've pointed out. You know, trip to rehab, because that's exactly what it was. And you and I both know, Jane, and I'm proud of you in your recovery, that treatment is a lifelong process. And that these are all red flags. You know, the anger, the denial, the placating, the shame, the remorse, all of these things she's exhibited. So I really do believe taking accountability and responsibility for her disease, two-part disease. I believe there's a dual issue here, mental, as well as the CD issues for DUIs or some of the other issues, you know, things that we see and think, well, to be an addict, you have to have, you know, these clear-cut DUI accidents. Or
I have to ask you, what perplexes me is that that she appeared under the influence. Now, if somebody is on what they call dry drunk, which we all know about, could explain to our viewers that that's addict or think doesn't necessarily cause you to look like you're under the influence. You're just behaving alcoholically.
Drug addiction or alcoholism, the irritability, the restlessness, the discontent. I mean, does that sound familiar? Which both you and I know does. I mean, the irritability, around Hollywood, the discontent. You know, so yes, that's untreated, you know, addiction, I believe, is really what we're talking about with a mental health issue.